Hi everyone, this is just a very quick video taking a look at a typical writing mock that you might expect to find on any aspects of the functional skills English paper or the GCSE one as well. This lesson is largely going to focus around how we can adapt our tone, improve our tone, and how this can affect our relationship with the audience. So first of all then, what is meant by the word tone and why is this so important in our writing? So if we look at the actual definition of why this is really important, tone helps you better relate to your audience's emotions, their needs, their wants, and their interests. It can build a connection between reader and writer by eliciting an emotional response from the reader. So by talking about the tone, we're showing our emotions, our feelings, and that is a real important way to get a connection with the audience as well. Now, if we have a look at this example, let's have a think about how the tone might be improved, how we can actually look at this to see how we can get the message across a little bit more accurately towards the audience. So the student example says, playing sports is a bit boring really. I don't see the point in it. I'd rather just sit at home and play on my computer. To me, this is better because I like it more. People who play a lot of sports look like a bunch of idiots for me. So what I'd like to think about is what kind of tone do we get from this student example and how might it be improved? Now, it's not very positive. It speaks about, not liking people who play sports. It's actually quite derogatory when you think about using that word idiots. It's definitely a very negative thing to use in your writing. It should be avoided at all costs. Whenever you use a word like that, something that potentially can be seen as an insult, it's going to put people off. It's going to make it a little bit harder for you to connect with the audience. So what the student is trying to say is that they simply do not like sport. However, they haven't really conveyed what it is they don't like about it. They've said they'd rather be playing on their computer, but even with this, they haven't really explained why they prefer that. It just says, to me, this is better because I like it more. You've got to think about why. If you're writing about something, if you're trying to tell me that you're passionate about something, I've got to feel that passion, I've got to feel that energy in your writing. And this example just falls short of the mark. Now let's have a look at the two different attempts. As we look through each one, I want you to think about which example has a more effective tone and how is the audience going to relate to each one. So here's our first one, and you can tell there by the little image that the speaker clearly isn't very happy. They don't seem to be invoking any kind of passion or enthusiasm about the topics they're talking about, and this is going to have a deep impact on how the reader actually interprets the message they're trying to get across. Now if we have a look at the second attempt at learning, the student has gone away, they've thought a little bit more about what they're really trying to explain, and they've had a bit of feedback from their teacher as well. So it says, I understand that some people enjoy sports, however, I find it a bit boring. There's nothing I enjoy more than simply sitting at home and delighting in the magical excitement I get from playing games. I can respect, admire, and cheer on people who play sports, but sports are simply not for me. Now what we're going to do on the next slide is we're going to go through the better example, which hopefully we can all agree is the second attempt in learning, and we're going to think about what makes this an effective example compared to the first one. So let's break down the successful response. So first thing I'd like to bring to your attention is literally how we start off the writing, and you can see that there straight away with the I. Now you've got it there, the personal pronoun. This is a really effective thing to use because it helps convey a sense of honesty and helps you to connect a little bit more with the audience, right? If I'm saying I, you know it's coming from me, you know it's something that I deeply care about or believe in as well. Next thing is we've got this word here. So used an effective conjunction to present a balanced argument. So a good thing about trying to express our point of view is if you think about using words like however to link our ideas, it allows you to talk about both sides of an argument. So you can see how that first sentence sounds a little bit more effective than the first example. I understand that some people enjoy sports, however, and that word, that wonderful conjunction, is allowing us to explain our own point of view, our own opinion about playing sports, which is, for this learner, that he finds it a bit boring. The next thing that's important to think about is this one. So effective adjectives. So thinking about how does he relate to people who actually engage in sports. So it's really important that you are not negative towards people who have certain interests or certain hobbies. So therefore we're using these really interesting and effective adjectives of respect, admire, right? So it's really telling us here that this person cares about them. When they're talking about the actual thing that they care about, which in this case is gaming, you've got words like excitement and magical and even delighting there that really helps convey that this person really does feel passionately about the thing that grabs their attention. The last thing is a wonderful technique. We call these DeForest techniques, and if you're not too sure what we mean by that, then we're going to go into a bit more detail on this later on. So I can respect, admire and cheer on people who play sports, but sports are simply not for me. So when we have a group of three, you've got words like respect, admire and cheer on. So the group of three, also known as a triplet, has been used there to effectively convey that this person actually, has a lot of admiration for people who go through sports and things like that, and that he holds no ill will. Again, if you call people idiots, generally that's a very negative, quite an emotive word there that's just going to put them off, and you're not going to be able to convey your message effectively. When studying English, it can be really difficult to remember all of the different techniques that you need to use in your qualification. If we have a look at the acronym below, I want you to think, do you know what these stand for? So the acronym we're going to use here is DeForest, and if you're not sure what I mean by an acronym, it is a group of letters here, and each of these letters represent a different technique that we need to use in our persuasive writing. A really important thing to think about is that if you use a range of these techniques, you'll be able to demonstrate to the examiner that you know how to write effectively. Making sure that you use at least two of these in each paragraph will just make sure that you get easy marks in your writing. These are absolutely fantastic techniques that you can use in your writing, and it will really help convey the message that you're trying to get across to your audience. So if we have a look at some of the main DeForest techniques, these are them here. Now they might change depending on the teacher that you have in your normal everyday lessons. Sometimes they will have, for example, the D will stand for discourse markers, which would be things like on the other hand, however, and things like that. Some people will also put for the R, instead of rhetorical question, they might use repetition, or for S, instead of putting statistics, they might put second person. Now, the reason why we use this acronym is because it just helps us to remember some of the key techniques. You don't need to use all of them in your writing, and you can also use other techniques that haven't been mentioned here. So if you'd like to pause the video at this point, try and write an example for each DeForest technique. That would be a really good practice for when you come to do your writing mock. Think about why these are important in persuasive writing, and if you can, try to think about what other techniques that you've learnt about, which of those could actually be used to help your writing and help persuade the audience towards your way of thinking. Look at the exam style question and start planning your response. So for this writing mock, we're going to use the question, write an email to a friend persuading them to get into sports. So it kind of follows on with those first examples when we were looking at the tone. The first speaker clearly didn't care about sports. He seemed more interested in gaming, which is a very typical response from a lot of people these days. So it's important that we use our techniques to try and convince them that sport is a really good and positive thing to get into. When you're planning this, try to plan your response with three main ideas for this question. So overall, the most you'd be expected to write, even up to GCSE level, is 5 paragraphs of this kind of question. You're going to have an introduction, 3 strong paragraphs, which is where we have our 3 main ideas, and a conclusion. So that will help set you up for even at the GCSE level there. A good thing to do in your plan is to write 3 sentences, or maybe more than this if you can, using some of the DeForest techniques. And this just helps you get used to using them, and it will come more naturally the more and more you do it. The final thing I want you to do, we're going to have a look at an example on the next slide, to help write your own response. So if you like anything you see in this example, please feel free to use it because it is a good starting point to actually start structuring your writing. So here's our response below. Hi Dan, thanks for the catch up the other week. It was great to see everyone again. You are clearly very passionate about gaming and that is fantastic. However, you need to think about getting out more. Sport can be fun, energetic, and help you stay fit and healthy. Let me get straight to the point. You're a fantastic, fun gamer, but you need to reach your full potential and start doing sports now. Now, that is just my example. It is something that is quite a good one to use if you're just thinking about jumping straight in and you want to go for your 3 main paragraphs. You could always use this example as your starting point for the introduction. If you're not too sure about how to actually structure an email, then we've included a link in the description below to our partner channel where it will talk you through how to structure an email effectively. This is something that people often worry about, but really it's one of those things that the more you do it, the easier it's going to come, and the easier it will be when you come to your exam. If you'd like any more support or guidance on this, then please do give us a like and subscribe. Leave us a comment if you've got any questions or concerns or anything that you're struggling with anything regarding English. Alternatively, you can check out our partner channel, Bookworm Teaching, for more lessons and guidance on all things English. Thanks guys, and best of luck with all of the revision and your work in the future.